I'm here with Mark Nelson, and you know, jewelry makers often go to the next level and get ready to sell their work, probably to fund their addictions, right?
Right, oh yeah, you got to supply the addiction somehow.
That's right. So you're going to give us some ideas for displaying your jewelry.
That's right, because it's very, very important, and a couple of things I want to cover.
Okay.
First of all is the size and dimension, proportion of your displays and your pieces.
Yeah, and take a look at this. You've created a lot of depth here, too.
That's right, and you know, if you might have a small space where you can sell your work, so you don't want really huge displays, or you might have a really huge spot and you don't want really small displays.
Yeah, this system is modular, so it all
right, you can break it
breaks
down, build it up, however you want to do it. Another thing is, if you're doing busts or things like that, if you have a small piece, you know, you don't really want to put it on a really huge bust because you lose it. Now this becomes all about the bust.
Right, so you're not looking at just the proportion of your entire display, but even right down to each individual piece.
Right, right. You know, here's a large piece on a really small one, so now it's kind of dangling all over the place.
Some of it is lost there.
Earrings, make sure the appropriate length is on the appropriate stand. So.
Right, and those come in different heights, so you can change them out.
Right. Another thing is balance. You know, you want everything to kind of flow. Whatever it is according to your brand or your image, how you portray your work, you want it to flow. If you have something all of a sudden random, okay.
So if you brought in something black or a different color, it really breaks up the way that this looks. This looks like a very cohesive collection until you bring this in.
And you can do this. You can put the random thing in. So if you want somebody to focus on this piece, but it still has to fit, you know, the whole scheme of things.
Yeah, so a lot of people who make their own jewelry, I think, are looking at this balance, all these things you're talking about with each individual piece of jewelry. So now you're just saying apply that to
the whole collection,
the way
and
it
the whole
looks.
space. And speaking of space, you want some dimension and scale in that space. You want something that's some things that are high, some things that are low. When people look at a flat surface, they just get bored. You know, you want to maintain their
So just like in any art, you need a place for your eyes to rest.
Right. I kind of think of it kind of like architectural landscape. You know, think of this as a park, you know, and how you would place your statues and your artwork in the park, and your eye will flow.
Draw attention,
that
that sort of thing.
And then there's color. Your color scheme, definitely you want to use color. It can be all one color, but it should have a theme to that too as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention too on this dimension and scale, you don't have to use risers. You can use books and other things like that.
You just want to make sure it fits the overall look that you're going for.
Exactly.
Now when we're talking about color, if you changed out the color of these linen displays, they could be a lot less neutral.
Right.
So you'd want to be careful about that with your jewelry.
Right, and you can use a change cover by simply placing this over. That way you're not having to replace the whole thing. Or if one of these gets damaged, you can use it covered that way too.
Cover it up. That would be a great way if you're doing a spring and fall collection. You could really change the look of your displays.
And keep your displays.
Right.
Not have to double up on those.
Tell us about the bracelet stand.
Bracelet stand is an option that, you know, bracelets can either be flat on a surface or you can use the bracelets on a stand. And you can see that this is really low compared to this really high piece. So there you're creating more dimensionality to it and more interest.
You would never want to leave something blank in your display.
No, you don't. You don't want to bleak there, but you do want to kind of fill spaces at higher and lower levels too. So.
Right.
Another thing is mirrors and lighting. People love to see themselves in your work. So if you have a mirror handy, they can try things on, and lighting. I don't know if you've ever been to a show where you go down to look at a piece and then you get blinded by the light. You definitely want to make sure that doesn't happen.
And also some dark shadows can create, you want to make sure that the lighting is falling on your pieces.
It's just right, without blinding the customer. So organization, don't pack everything out onto the display. You know, you have a lot of pieces in the back, keep some in reserve. That way when you see somebody looking at a particular piece, you can go, hey, you know, I got some more in the back.
Right, like these rings, for example, there are just 3 here on display. Maybe you have another tray that you see somebody trying them on, you bring the tray out.
And it's also a good way to talk to the customer, open up a conversation.
Right, because people want to know about you, the maker. And that would be a good place to mention price. Exactly,
pricing. You got to show pricing. You know, it's like one of those things that if you have to ask, you can't afford it. If they don't see the price, they think they have to ask, and so they won't afford it. Make it visible.
Make it very clear.
You know, and that way they can go, okay, yeah, I can afford that, and I want that now.
Right.
You know? And take time every year to spring clean your stuff. You know, go through the displays, check them, make sure they're nicely, you know, in good shape and clean that way. maybe the final thing is that you're not done with the sale, okay? You want to finish it off with presenting a bag with your logo on there or something like that to present it and make it really special.
Something that is reflective of your work and your collection.
Exactly.
Thank you. Those are some great tips, Mark. And I'll be right back with the necklace design.